What's up, y'all? It's Teal. Welcome back to another cool video. We're gonna be looking at some of the latest riddles for the Indigo Disk, and I think Cool posted a crazy one this time to talk about the time travel and imagination Pokemon debate, what the Paradox Pokemon really are, and what Terapagos' power really is. So let's go to it. Okay, so last time he posted this, he said, let's battle time travel or imagination, or they don't intend to tell you the result even after the plot ends. So I made a whole video taking the stance of imagination and how the story could play out if that's the case, and how they could retell what really happened in Area Zero where heat cyclers are one and all. And then I also made a video on the time travel side. So I mean, I got my chips in both corners, but if you notice in the tweet, he put a picture of Terapagos because that's the focus, not necessarily the paradoxes, but what is Terapagos' power? So time travel for Terapagos would mean it's more based on the Japanese myth of the time traveling turtle. So that would go something like Sada and Turo find Terapagos, and by mining its power, they can bring out that time property that the time traveling turtle uses. And that's how they bring out the Paradox Pokemon. And then also it would live in a timeless place that we would maybe go to if we went deep in Area Zero. So that's what time travel would mean. Imagination would mean this dude is just a full-on cloud of smoke Pokemon that grants your wishes, and when you mine its power, it allows you to bring whatever you want to life. Just to summarize it so you know what we're going in with. And then the third option, or they don't intend to tell you the result. Now this would be the best option Game Freak did. It's bittersweet, but you see all the speculation we're having? If this mystery is ever solved, no one will care a second longer. People need to keep caring. It's like Origin and Dialga and Pokemon. Now that we've seen them, no one cares anymore. But we wanted them for what, 70 years? So I want the game to heavily at least hint which one is true, but I don't want them to put a label on it, you know? But we'll more or less know the answer. I guess it's kind of like Kogita. You know, in Legends Arceus, we have Kogita, she has Enamorus, and then when you read some of the ancient texts for the region and the Celestica people, it sounds like Kogita is from the ancient days, and she's like, what, 800 years old or like 1,000 years old. But if the game just told you that, it would be boring. But we pretty much know that's the case. We just can't confirm it. So that's what I want with this. So anyhow, let's go to the next tweet. Ku writes, do you agree on this book, especially the first part? Yo, is this even Pokemon related? Sapiens, a brief history of humankind. Oh, you would have to read the book to know. Should I read the book and let you guys know? All right, I'm gonna look at the cliff notes. Okay, so reading complete. So the book talks about that humans began to take shape the way they are now 70,000 years ago, and that up till around 2 million years ago, humans were so dumb that you could just consider them like an animal. So if Ku wanted to relate this in some way to the Pokemon world, I guess you could say something like up to 2 million years ago, there was no difference between Pokemon and human. Like, we were a type of Pokemon, and then we evolved and lost our special powers, but we became this cognitive genius group. And that also is why we might be like a psychic type, because we're weak to bugs, because we're scared of them. Well, it's what we're scared of. We're scared of bugs, darkness, and the ghosts. So maybe if Ku knows something about the future of Pokemon, you know, Gen 10 or something down the line. Gen 10 sounds like a good, the big X to reveal some kind of relation between human and Pokemon. But yeah, if he knows anything about the future, maybe this is what he wants to make us think about. Well, I can't believe I freaking took that pit stop. Alright, forget about that tweet though, right? We'll talk about that later. This is the big one. I can't believe it. Ku tweets this. So this is about the big debate. He says, just a question. If you use fiction power to create a time machine and then use that time machine to summon paradoxes, how would you call this? Cool. This is some wild stuff. So, I mean, the answer is actually simple, but it sounds complicated. It's just perfect because we just talked about this in the last video I made, where I was talking about how far does dream power really go. So if, let's say it really are imagination Pokemon, then where did AI Sada and Turo go at the end of the game? If that isn't actually a time machine, but some dream actualization machine. But then, if there is no limits to dream power, maybe they did go to the past and future, even though that's not a time machine. I uploaded that video like in the middle of the night, so y'all might have missed it. I'll link it at the end of this. But so this is what Ku's trying to say here. That Sada and Turo found magical dream energy and made a time machine out of it to summon paradoxes. So how would you call this? You would call them actual time travelers. they would actually be from the past and future. It's like the dream energy is a way to bypass actually having the breakthrough of figuring out how time travel works. It's like this. Sada and Toro they try to study and make inventions when they found Terapagos' crystals, but every hypothesis they had kept coming true, not because they actually figured something out, but because Terapagos was kind of granting the inventions they wanted. So it's like the AI in the time machine were made from dream power, but they're actual AI and time machine. So if you use that time machine to summon paradoxes, they aren't imagination Pokemon. They're actual time travelers. This would kind of make sense looking back at this game from the future. You would just look at Paldea as the big dream region, where you got this freaking cloud of smoke Pokemon in the middle that grants dreams. It actually works, versus looking back at this region and thinking that Terapagos is a time properties Pokemon. It doesn't sound as good as imagination now. When did I become this? Let's see what people are saying. It's all in imagination. Tricked you into thinking these paradoxes were real. Terrestrializing and its pools are emitting gas and people are just high. Okay, so this is a good take as well. You know, speaking about our dreams being actualized, you can explain the whole phenomenon made from Terapagos' powers this way. So every Pokemon, they seem to have this secret third typing. All Terapagos does is allow them to bring that dream typing to life. And it is cool to think when you go into Area Zero, there's so much smoke that it's almost like you can't peek into Area Zero. You can only go inside, which means you don't know if you're in the illusion once you're inside, and you'll never be able to know. The only proof we kind of have that the entire Area Zero isn't an illusion is that we seem to find the same things Heath did. Some of them, the tablets, and then we found the crystals. And then soon it looks like we'll find Terapagos. But yeah, about people just being high, you can catch the Paradox Pokemon and use them on the surface. So people aren't just high. What happens if you send them to the past afterwards? Which came first? Okay, if you made a time machine out of imagination power and sent them to the past, everything's fine. They just go back to the past. But this makes it more interesting, right? Because we kind of touched on the idea that if the fantastical image Heath made inspired Sada to actualize 3 fake Johto beasts to look like this, if they're not imagination Pokemon, that means the beasts really did look like that back then. Predestination paradox is a paradox of time travel that occurs when any event such as action, information, object, or person ultimately causes itself as a consequence or either retroactively. What are these suckers talking about? The question was, if you use fiction power to create a time machine and then use that machine to summon paradoxes, what do you call them? Lazy writing. Shit. Okay, so here's some closing thoughts, right? I got no doubt in my mind, Ku is never gonna spoil something straight up like this. So he's either partially trolling when he wrote this, or he's entirely trolling, or he knows we're gonna see it as a troll, so it's true. You know, after reading this man's riddles for like 2 years, and then seeing how annoyed he was with Kaka, I got no doubt in my mind he's not gonna spoil the big plot twist in the Indigo Disk like this. But I can't figure out, if this is not the case somehow, what would it be? Because this sounds solid. So I guess if we were to take this option out of the race, then the closest runner would be that not only is the time machine made from imagination power, but the Pokemon are also imagination Pokemon and not actually time travelers. Because going by this idea tweeted here, where you used fake power but made a real time machine, they wouldn't be Paradox Pokemon then. The only way they could be Paradox Pokemon, and even Kratom and Miraidon are listed as Paradox Pokemon, is if they don't actually exist. They're a contradiction Pokemon because they're from the imagination. So I guess that's the leading theory, that it's not actually a real time machine still. It's a fake power that made fake Pokemon. I'm falling for the troll, Ku. Anyhow, make sure to shank that like button. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I've made a proper video discussing both sides, the time travel side and the fiction side. Though, I think we should leave the time travel side for now because the big fiction side is what seems like is happening. We got a month, let's see how things play out. I'll make more videos if he makes more riddles, so I'll see y'all next time. Take care.